What's up, guys? How's it going? You guys know the normal routine. We're going to wait a few moments, build some audience up, and get started here. So for those who are in the live stream already, let me know if the audio and video is all good. Want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Comment in the comments below, and should get started here shortly. Audio is good to go. Sweet. Well, yeah, we got, I'm doing a little wrenching, as you can see here, building up a couple kits. I had to build a new B7 and a B74. I ended up shelving my cars from the last race that we were at, the Nationals. So got my tool order. I've all built up. Going to be going to Hobby Action this Wednesday to do some club racing, break in the new cars for the J Concepts INS finals, or excuse me, not the INS finals, the INS summer race at Hobbyplex in Omaha, Nebraska. So I'm going to do a little bit of wrenching with you guys. I'm going to be talking about some of the last few events that we've been at, some of the stuff that we learned. There's been a lot of highs and lows the last couple of races, for sure. For those who are currently in the chat, whether it's 10 skill related or 8 skill related, don't hesitate to ask any questions. I'll go back, review them in the live feed so you guys can hear your questions answered, and that way we can kind of make sure you guys are taken care of and getting what you need out. So yeah, I literally just got home about an hour and a half ago from a camping trip that we just took. Myself, my dad, Jackson, Mayfield, Mike Chury, Ryan's family, Tanner Denny, and a couple of other friends, Garrick and his girlfriend and stuff. So went up to Payson, had some fun, did some camping, did some quadding. Went to a couple lakes out there in Payson, which is really cool. So that was the first time I've been out there, to be honest. So that was really, really fun. It was a very long week. Prior to that was the 2024 Roar 8 Skill Nationals, which was looking really good towards the main event in Nitro Buggy, and made a lot of big gains with some shock packages and some suspension stuff, and ended up landing on a rock and cutting off my engine, which caused me to lose a lap and basically fall down the leaderboard. So I was running in third. I think I was like 6 or 7 seconds behind the leaders. So not really sure, what some 15 minutes ago could have made some progress towards the front, but I think a podium would have for sure been in the cards. But honestly, it's part of Nitro racing. That's what really makes it special when you do have a good result. Obviously, Ryan had a fantastic weekend. Let alone winning one, he won both, which is really special and well-deserved from him and Techno and J Concepts. So we have a lot of work to do. I think we were close. Obviously, those guys went to the warm-up, which never hurts for anybody that wants to go practice to do well at events. Let's see. I'm moving my computer a little bit over here. So I have some people tuning in: Mitch, Clay, T. Anthony, Sean, Brian. Thanks for you guys for tuning in from all over. I'm currently doing some building for you guys that are just tuning in, building up my 4-wheel drive that will probably be my 4-wheel drive for the rest of the year and a half from now. Yeah, so anyways, the Nationals was really cool. For those who haven't really checked out the HRCR facility out there in Idaho, Definitely highly recommend someone taking a trip out there and exploring the beautiful area, the trees, the nice weather right now. And for the most part, I think I'll probably end up doing another trip out there just to have some fun, do some maybe a club race. And yeah, so the next nitro race for me is Wicked Weekend. I'm gonna start doing some 8 scale prep probably probably by Friday or so. Got to break in the engine and should be good to go. So gonna be doing some club racing on Wednesday at Hobby Action. Charles Hicks is in the house. What's up, bud? Yeah, the rock definitely that was the gutter for sure. For sure. And then we also did some carpet racing, which was really fun. Didn't really do as well as I wanted to. Uh, Man, the carpet stuff is so crazy nowadays. Obviously, we have our new 2-wheel drive on carpet, which was um, fun to kind of experiment some new things with it. So there's definitely a ton to be learned and to be gained with that. So for the most part, the next kind of carpet race that we have coming up is the Nationals, which is coming up pretty soon. The carpet Nationals. I think I'm gonna probably try to take a trip, do some carpet running somewhere, whether it's back at Island Speedway possibly, or even going to Michigan or some sort. Kind of figure some stuff out once we get a little bit closer. Let's see what else we have. Let me make sure something here. We got Adam Peters in the house, tone to tone last night at Adobe. That is great to hear. Typically, I always hear that something happens, so that's good. But yeah, so we got some people tuning in. Like I said, anybody that has any questions regarding 8 scale or 10 scale related stuff, we're going to go through. I'm going to talk about some of the biggest things that we did at the 8 scale nationals. Seems like 8 scale right now is a good subject to talk about. We ended up trying some 20-hole VRP pistons, which was pretty special out there at that smooth outdoor track. So I'm kind of looking forward to trying that stuff out at the like Wicked Weekend and stuff like that. But I would say the biggest thing was the shocks definitely helped. Ended up kind of figuring out some tire stuff. We ended up cutting some foam, the kind of the mound on the foam to make the tire profile a little bit flatter for those kind of high speed tracks. I'm not really sure if that's going to become a common thing for like Wicked Weekend or Second Nitro Blast as far as the tire profile goes. But it definitely seems that it was a big help for comfortability and drivability at the Nationals when it came to kind of comfort, driving as hard as you can basically for a long period of time. So I would say the shocks, the tires. I ended up running our new team associated black front spring and then a Techno orange rear spring, which I believe I didn't even know this until recently that the associated new white rear spring I believe is the same as that Techno orange, or like the same rate, so to speak. So that was a huge plus. And then as far as like the diffs go, I would say for the most part, we ended up with 10 in the front, 15 in the center, and 7 in the rear. Or excuse me, 6 in the rear. was a good balance. It seemed like when I first got there, we ended up running like 7 in the front and 4 in the rear. But for whatever reason, the thicker front and rear diff, like even though the grip was kind of low, medium at the beginning, um, it really just seemed like the heavier diffs helped the car pull out of corners, um, with help with acceleration, and since it was just so high speed, it kind of helped the engines. The engines run a little bit better with the thicker diffs. I don't necessarily think that's like something that's like you have to really keep in mind in all these other tracks. That was a very unique track and like layout style that made a big difference for how the engine ran. It was a lot higher elevation. I want to say it was 2 or 3,000 feet of elevation, which made engines run hard. Which to be honest, my buggy engine ran really good the whole entire weekend. I feel like in Truggy, I felt like the power truck can always be better, but everyone that I talked to thought the same. So fuel mileage was decent. I guess it could have been a little bit better, but the guy that ended up winning the 1 hour final actually had one more pit stop than like Dakota. So Ryan and I run the same pit strategy, 7:30. Which honestly, at the end of the day, people don't really think about this, but sometimes having the weight of the fuel in the front end kind of helps the car keep the nose down and accelerate as you're going into sections. And sometimes it can become a little bit more easier to drive with more weight in the front and a little bit plusher with the jumping and landing on the nose. Not to mention, as the tires get more bald and more bald and more bald, there's less pressure being put on those tires, and having the extra fuel to kind of navigate around is just a little bit easier. So for those who maybe don't think about that, it's definitely something to totally think about. So when you say you get 10 minutes of run time, that's cool. There's obviously places and times where that can become a huge advantage. But at the end of the day, when you're running that long, engines are running hot, high elevation. You just want to basically finish. Obviously, I didn't get the chance to finish technically because of a rock, but that stuff is out of my control. But other than that, going to Wicked Weekend is going to be nice and hot. I think it's at that outdoor covered facility. For those who haven't checked out the race time races, definitely checking them out. Dave and his crew do a great job at hosting good races. We have the AMS, the Wicked Weekend, the Psycho Nitro Blast, and I think he also acquired he has SIC. So the 4 or 5 events that I just mentioned. So let's see what kind of questions we got. How much time and fuel do you run through an 8 scale before you start dialing in setup once the driveline is broken in? This is a great question here that I have listed down below. For the most part, I would say a good 25 minutes, 30 minutes of running. It sounds maybe like a lot, but I would say a good 25, 30 minutes. I mean, there's so much stuff that's breaking in with the car when it's especially an 8-scale vehicle. The front rear drive line, the center dog bones, kind of getting seated properly. Especially if it's a new kit, like the gears and the diffs need to mesh together really good. That's why when you build a new car, it's important to kind of redo your diffs after, let's say, 25, 30 minutes. Or if it's after a full day, I guess you could say you can do the diffs. But you'll be surprised the first few tanks, especially when the diffs are brand new, the gears, the oil in the diffs would basically be black, which is just getting off all the fine, I guess, stuff on the gears. And then once the gears are seated, your gears and your oil shouldn't really get too black once you kind of run and rebuild them. So also too, what I like doing with maintenance wise for 8-scale diffs, I'd say after you start the weekend, you maintenance your car, you got it all prepped. Always re-grease the out drives that goes into the drive cups. and that will help lubricate the outdrives. Won't help anything like binding or locking up as you're driving. But even when like you're mid-event, let's say like after practice, after like qualifying, and you're like getting ready for the main event, or even like the last qualifier to kind of maybe reseat and break things in. You can also do a little bit of prep, take apart your divs, re-lube the outdrives, put some new bearings in if needed, and then run your last qualifier, and then that basically sets you in. It's like you already ran it, you already know what it feels like before you run it in the main event. Or some people, after qualifying, regroup, re-oil or re-grease out drives, new bearings for the main, and then you run your main. So I don't necessarily think there's a right or wrong way to do it. Same thing for the clutch. It's nice to start with a new clutch, run it all through practice, all through qualifying, and then depending on how much running you have, you can put a new one in for the main. The next 8-scale race is the Wicked Weekend. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, so Taylor, have I been running the wide front end on Truggy? So basically, yes, I've been running the wide hexes front and rear, along with spacing the upper and lower pillow balls out a little bit as well. 1.4 millimeters, actually 2.4 millimeters top and bottom, I believe. At the Nationals, we ended up running the +4 rear hex, a little bit narrower rear end to kind of help the car rotate. So, Jeff, this is actually a very, obviously, really critical, important question. It's very, the best thing to do that I learned over the years. Instead of even saying over the years, I feel like I'm still learning, to be quite honest with you. But starting with your baseline, and then knowing where your normal traction is at, where you're liking, that's basically where I start. And then basically when you go to a different track, is quickly identifying how high the grip level is on that track you're at. It's like, okay, you run normal. Let's say you run normally blue compound at Thornhill, and you go to a different track, and the track you run blue compound there, and you have zero traction. Then that's basically telling you the traction is low. You might need to go down a compound first, and then identify if, like, okay, does the green compound, which is J Concepts compound color coordinating, if a softer compound doesn't help my traction, then maybe I need to readjust my divs. So always use the tires as the gauge of like where the traction's at. Obviously, if you're turning the wheel and the thing just instantly turns and sucks into the pipe, that's basically a sign of your front diff being a little bit too thin. If you let off the gas really fast and the thing wants to suck into the pipe, that's sometimes a sign of your center diff being too light as well. The rear diff on a 4-wheel drive vehicle has a little bit bigger of a window because it's a little bit harder to diff out an 8-scale car, just because the front tires are pulling and the center diff is bleeding power to the front. So the kind of maintenance that I do between the 8-scale cars, like I just mentioned, for the diffs, just especially for 8-scale, and I guess also 10-scale, is just making sure that there's nothing when you're maintaining stuff. Take the shocks off. Make sure the arms are free up and down, that they swing. If there's nothing bent, check the hinge pins. Check the bulkheads. Make sure there's no cracks. Check the arms. Check the carbon shock towers for the 10-scale cars. Check the shock towers on the 8-scale cars that are aluminum. Putting them on a flat bench, making sure there's nothing wobbling. Especially in 8-scale, the shocks and stuff will still move freely, but sometimes the shock shafts can be bent still. So definitely always make sure your shock shafts aren't bent, even in 10-scale. I actually just recently It actually took a year and a half. We were in Chico, and my four-wheel drive shock body, my Kashima coated shock body, was scratched on the lower part of the body. It looked like a scratch. And then I was doing my O rings in the shocks, and I was putting the shock shaft all the way down. And I noticed it like clunk, and I looked inside the body with my like flashlight, and I saw that there was a dent. So like every time the piston would try to go to the bottom, it would stop, and then I would have to pull it to get past the bump. So the shock bodies are kind of fragile. If they get scratched, or it's it probably means that it was probably a good hit, because if they're getting scratched, that means that something had to like hit it perfectly to get it to hit that those crazy angles of where the shocks are at, because they're also protected by the arms, the shock towers a little bit, even the rear wing, and then obviously the tires. So if it gets nicked, it probably means it got a good hit, and that's something that I just learned kind of recently. Has anybody tried KPI on the T6? Yes, I love it. Um, I think it was a big improvement. Uh, so at some point, I would imagine Associates working on some new stadium trucks. Um, I would highly recommend trying the B7 steering blocks and cash blocks on your stadium truck, or even your short course. So, new racer, what kind of tips for a first-time 8-scale racer can you give someone who is used to 1/10 scale? I would say the biggest thing for someone that's coming from 10 scale to 8 scale is kind of trusting your eyes when you're driving, and the speed of the vehicle. I was always taught that. Um, you know, Maintenance is your friend in 8 scale. Running for a long period of time means a lot of maintenance required when you're done. I would say for uh, for every hour of driving your 8 scale car, it's probably two plus hours of mechanical wrenching. Making sure stuff is not bent, it's free and stuff. The engine is really important to keep running. If you're running e-buggy, that's also a little bit better and easier for sure. Someone's asking must-have upgrades for the RC8 B4.1. The Nitro Buggy kit and the e-buggy kit come with pretty good upgrades. The first things first, in my opinion, I'm not a fan of the kit bodies that come in the associated cars. I think they look kind of hideous, to be honest. But we have to come up with something for the kit. I would say the bodies are a big upgrade, and then the rear razor wing would be a huge upgrade for as far as traction goes. And then as far as like actual part upgrades, I run the aluminum pillow balls top and bottom, which is a good upgrade to have. The let's see, the car comes with the RWB chassis already. It comes with the right gears, the diffs. Um, the next biggest upgrade I can say for as far as like the 8-scale cars is kind of getting your assortment of shocks and shock springs. Springs on the 8-scale car have been hands down one of the most important tuning options that I've been able to have that can make a difference. Get a good window of whatever shock package you like running, and get an idea from the setup sheets that are posted online of what springs work the best at your local track. So for when we go to the West Coast races, we run pretty soft springs because of the outdoor bumps and tracks. And then for the indoor high speedways, we run stiffer springs. So it's as easy as that. Let's see what else here. Um, So is there any difference between the ProTech wing and the J Concept wing? Yes. The J Concept wing and the ProTech wing are oddly a lot different than most people think. I personally haven't ran the ProTech wing, but I know people that have. Aiden Horns ran both. So I know when we were making our wing, there was a lot of testing and stuff being involved. I'm sure the ProTech wing is works pretty decent, but I do know that most of the people that run that kind of style of a wing always choose to run the J Concept one. So there's got to be something. I know the side dams and stuff look very similar. I know the gurney is a little bit different, and then the center pods actually drop down for more airflow downforce for the J Concept wing. So yeah, for the most part, the 8 scale stuff, like I said, the wings, the body, aerodynamic stuff is pretty important. And then as far as upgrades go, the pillow balls, and that's really about it. Shocks and springs is one of the most key things to have in your assortment of tools to kind of make improvements with the car setup. So yeah. For those, I'm currently building a new 4-wheel drive right now, kind of getting some stuff organized. I got my my B7 built up right here. I just got my hobby wing order in and putting a new new 7.0 in my mod car, 2-wheel drive. Got it all wired up nicely. I ended up putting in a 2290 Monster or 2292 Monster 8-scale servo in my 10-scale car. I feel like for those, I think all servos do it that are like the 10-scale based servos, but I noticed when I run 8-scale, like when my car is going through a race or something, the servos always stay like centered. They don't ever get notched or go and start going to the left or going to the right. So I ended up basically saying, screw it, I'm going to run 8-scale servos in my 10-scale cars now because, one, we're going so damn fast now on these 10-scale tracks, especially a carpet and the slip track dirt tracks, that when you take a gnarly hit or hit someone on the straightaway or something, I'm just going for safety, and I just want it to be consistent when I'm driving from run to run, where the steering trim is just always straight. And upgrading my servo to the Savox 2292, whether if you run Savox or Reedy or ProTech, I would probably eventually start upgrading your guys' stuff as well. The small servos are good. We're not doing it for necessarily weight exactly anymore. There's other benefits that I'm looking for and getting with the bigger servo, more actual foot-pounds of torque. If that's actually how they scale it, foot-pounds of torque, but more torque when you're running the smaller, I'm running my BEC voltage at 6 volts. Sure, you can go to 7 volts, but the 6 volts is, I think, fine as far as BEC voltage goes. So looking for more torque. I think that's going to give me a lot more feeling, especially in the high traction conditions when you're actually steering on, like, let's say, carpet. There's a lot of force going on these tires as you're making turns and doing these chicanes, and even under hard landings. I think that there's some stuff that I can be gaining with a stronger servo, like the 8-scale servos on the market. So looking forward to really trying this out at Hobby Action. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to try it. I'm pretty much committed to it at this point, unless something significantly different changes. So I would say it's a tight fit. It's a clean fit. For those who are concerned about fitment. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Got the J Concept one-piece servo. Got the turnbuckles, screws. So this car, as far as like upgrades that I have, all the plastic parts, or excuse me, the only carbon part that I have on this car is the gearbox, and that's it currently. So, we've been running, or I've been running like carbon front and rear arms, top deck, bulkhead mount, and the rear gearbox and side guards. So I'm gonna try some stuff out at Hobby Action. I know one of my biggest things that I really liked about the carbon arms or running anything carbon would be the front arms first. So there's just so much force that goes in the front tires. You can see that there can be some flex. So I want to do some testing to see what kind of advantages maybe having a little bit more flex can give you, whether it's more comfort or maybe it makes it worse. Haven't really ran it in a long time, so looking forward to really seeing how that goes, and see what happens. So I got to install a motor at some point today or tomorrow. It's been a long last couple of weeks. Like I said, 2 weeks ago we were in, or a week and a half ago we were in Idaho for the 8-Skill Nationals, and this past week and weekend we were just got home from camping. So nice to get some fresh air, think about some of the racing coming up, and reflect on some of the races that just passed. Come in with a new mindset, fresh mindset for the next couple of races coming up. We got the, like I said, the J Concepts INS Summer race at Hobbyplex in Omaha, Nebraska. And then I believe after that it's Wicked Weekend. And I think I might be doing a race of Hobby Action, but I'm hopefully trying to get some stuff planned to possibly run some carpet. Carpet Nationals is coming up soon as well. So pretty crazy. We got some obviously some new upgrades for the B7. Like I said, the short chassis is also something that we've been running, which basically sold out in the same day, along with some other new items that came out. So if you guys see those on the shelf at a local hobby shop, definitely pick one up, give it a try. You definitely won't regret it. Basically, we've been running the short chassis on everything. For those who do run the long chassis, I know one of the things that I really liked with running the long chassis was kind of running the arms forward, or excuse me, middle, but hubs forward. And then when you run the short chassis, you no longer need to run the arms, or excuse me, hubs forward. You can run the hubs middle, back to middle, and kind of get some of the benefits of that. The chassis is -4 millimeters, so it does make a pretty big difference on scales as far as where the weight's moving. That's pretty much the biggest thing, is where's the weight actually moving. So that's been a huge upgrade, I think, which has been good, especially on carpet. I know when I was in Chico, the big, super long, high speedway track, the grip came up during like qualifying, and then after qualifying was over, I was like hiking on 3 wheels and like, I wouldn't say traction rolling, but I get the car to hike and actually feel edgy. And then I just simply put the short chassis on, and then the hiking and everything all stopped. So something that we're going to be taking a deeper dive into, of like why that stuff happened, and identifying like, maybe there's some things that we can do with the long chassis to prevent that, and maybe it can end up outperforming the short chassis stuff. But right now we're in the kind of stages of the learning stages of figuring out, what's doing what. There's so many changes on the new car, and it seems like, especially for carpet, that for dirt I run more KPI, but for carpet I run a little bit less, which I guess makes a little bit more sense now that I've been running some of the 8-scale testing. We've been running the old steering blocks and caster blocks from the B3 front end on the 8-scale car, which is also changing the KPI a ton as for doing some testing. So it's a critical setting for those who are running the KPI stuff. For those who haven't tried it or haven't explored running 1, 2, or 3, I would definitely recommend trying it. I would also make sure when you are adjusting the KPI blocks on the two-wheel drive B7, you basically are always having to readjust the toe and the camber because it all works in one symmetrical way somehow. And if it's not readjusted, then your toe and camber will be off from where you were running it before. So if before was set up perfectly. So I just recently acquired a setup station. I'm not going to say which one that I got at the moment, but I'm looking forward to kind of tinkering it with it a little bit, especially with readjusting the KPI stuff. And hopefully I can kind of evaluate each KPI change of how many, what's the difference in toe that needs to be adjusted and camber. That way I can kind of personally know. And then I can kind of, when people come up to me at races or practice events or whatever it may be, I can be there to kind of be more in the know of what I'm talking about because I prefer not saying anything that I don't exactly feel confident in. So, yeah, pretty pumped. B7 stuff. I'm also looking forward to getting more of the J Concepts bodies for the two-wheel drive. I'm really looking forward to trying out the S2. The last time I was in carpet, I ran one of Brent's old bodies that was an S2 on the B7, and that worked out really, really good. I've also seen people talk about the S2 body, or excuse me, not the S2. Let's see. We got J Concepts. Yeah, S15, excuse me. The S15 bodies I've heard been really popular, like in the Florida area. So basically just got all the bodies on order and we're going to try them all because I know for sure that you can have the bodies can make or break your weekend, to be honest with you. As crazy as that sounds and a little embarrassing for 10th scale, it does make a difference. And driving style for sure is important to know. Just because I'm running a body doesn't necessarily mean that that's the body you're going to like. It also depends too. You may like how my setups feel at your track or whatever, but like the different traction levels too. Just because you run on carpet or dirt, you're gonna probably end up changing a couple body styles to see what you like on that style. I also think miles per hour matters as well with the bodies. If it's a small track, you might prefer like this body. If it starts getting a much larger, you're gonna like this body. So that's something that I've really noticed. Yep, I'll be at the INS in Omaha, so looking forward to seeing you guys there as well. So the springs that I had on my 8-scale buggy were the new associated black front spring and a Techno orange rear spring, middle hole in the rear arm, and then outside hole in the front arm. What else do we have? Going through some of the questions here. But yeah, for 8-scale, obviously for the bodies, we really kind of have the S15. There may be a couple other bodies available, but that seems to be the most popular, which makes things a little bit more simple for sure. So that's kind of critical stuff. But for the most part, honestly, having a good baseline setup for the 10 scale stuff. For those who haven't seen the setups that have been posted, I would highly recommend checking out the RC10 website. Go to Cars and Trucks, pick on the model vehicle that you're running, 8 scale related, 10 scale, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, whatever it may be. Click on the vehicle, go to parts, and you can see the parts for all that vehicle or setups and manuals. And you kind of get hooked up from whether it's you're finding your favorite driver or myself or other people that you might see the different tracks and track conditions, which is also listed, which is really important. So yeah, it's good that people, if you're writing some notes down, that's really important. I honestly can do a lot better job at that than I do. And, writing on your phone, it's also a good reminder of like, hey, what tires did you run at this event last year? Just to see like how things are progressing and, hey, did I run tire sauce last year here? Or, hey, did I run blues or silvers or whatever it may be? Yeah, I think it's all fun and it's a hobby. At the end of the day, it's tinkering, figuring some stuff out. When as soon as you think you figured something out, go to the track and you don't because something changes and you're like, what the heck? So it's a puzzle. That's one of the biggest things why I like RC. It's a big puzzle. It's never ending. I've gotten some headaches from it free for sure. Sometimes it's pretty hard and you get your heart gutted out. But we're all competitors. Some of us are, some of us do this for a living and, it is what it is. I'm fortunate enough to have some good friends and some good companies that I race for that makes it, doesn't really necessarily feel like a job to me. So what else do we have out there, guys? Anyways, hopefully you guys are having a good Sunday. I had a fantastic weekend out camping. For those who are just now tuning in, obviously there wasn't really any notice for this video, but I figured I wanted to go live for you guys. I'll give you guys a little update on kind of what was going on the last few weeks. Again, for those who are tuned in, it would really be appreciated if you guys give this a share and a like just to get it out to your friends that race. They can go back and watch it. It helps out my YouTube channel because we are streaming on both YouTube and Facebook. So some of the questions that maybe I'm answering are from YouTube. For those are people that are watching from Facebook, and then from people from YouTube, I could be answering questions from Facebook. So it's kind of cool, unique. I use StreamYard for my streaming platform. So it does both streaming. It streams on one platform, but then like networks it to both, which is really cool. So yeah, giving it a share, a like, it really helps out getting it out to more of the people in the RC. And for those who are in, I really appreciate you tuning in on Sunday. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your Sunday morning. And yeah. Yeah, so we have some YouTube videos in the works. Gonna be trying to do some filming at the J Concepts INS Summer at Hobbyplex with Jason, and then I have some cool videos that I want to do in the wrench room to show you guys a little bit around of how I have some stuff set up, and then I have some AE videos I want to do and some hobby wing videos as well. So a lot of stuff on the list. I need to basically make a deadline on my phone to kind of help prioritize some stuff. So, like I said, we just took a week off did some camping, so we're back, fresh mindset, and I'm looking forward to kind of getting back into a rhythm. I basically, like, as you can see, like I have everything sprawled out here, building my new 4-wheel drive for the next race coming up. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. Um, I need to check something real quick. Had someone message me about a screw size. So let's see what else. Jeff Storm. Being burned out in RC is real. I'm definitely at that point. How do you pros do it to keep a good mindset while racing? Personally, I mean, I don't really look at it as a job, so it's more of a privilege and honor to go to the racetrack. So I don't really necessarily feel like I get to that point. It sometimes can be frustrating because you can't figure some stuff out at that particular moment. But at the same time, that's what makes it also motivating to like wanting to go back to figure some stuff out. And then of course, I like winning. I like doing well. I like helping out people. So when any of those things can be accomplished, it's all worth every single, whether any struggles that you end up going through or anything like that. So, yeah, it's also nice because I bounce back and forth between 10 scale and 8 scale. So, sure, you can be like, oh, I'm over going to that track. It's nice to maybe like, okay, switching over to 10 scale, we're going to go run some carpet. It's going to be a little bit different, more higher pace. Or from carpet to going to go back running some 8 scale. So it's like a completely different environment that you're going to, whether you're being cooped up in a building or being outside in really hot, crappy weather, or sometimes really cool and beautiful weather. So there's pros and cons from both. I recommend people definitely doing both if you're capable of doing both, or even have the option, because you learn a lot of things from both styles of racing. I think honestly nowadays you could probably separate 10 scale off-road dirt and 10 scale off-road carpet of two separate categories, and then you separate 8 scale as its own category. So I really think there's 3 total segments of style of racing. So, it's getting more difficult and challenging to kind of be good at it all. There's only a few people that actually really do it all. I believe really just Dakota and I, kind of do. I would say that Dakota and I really do it both on a regular basis in the U.S. So you have Aiden. It's also that does a little bit of both. Cavalieri. Mayfield doesn't run much 10 scale anymore. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Things are changing. So yeah, it's all good stuff. They have a bunch of races that's happening at the end of the year. It's all coming pretty fast. We have obviously the 8 scale Worlds in Spain. We're going back to Spain again, and what is it? October, I believe, or maybe September. So that's going to be crazy. Going back there again, I'm looking forward for a better result. I think last year, 2 years ago, I finished 22nd. I really didn't think I ran that well. I really didn't have the right tires like some of the other guys did, and then so I think 5% better can probably put me in the fight to making the main, which would be a big accomplishment. I never made an 8-scale worlds main before, so starting from gotta start there and work your way up for sure. So. But yeah, other than that, I think we're gonna start signing some stuff off here. I want to get cleaned up here and figured I'd go live for you guys. Yeah, for those who are just now tuning in, you can go back and check out what we talked about the last, J Concepts INS carpet race. We talked about the 8-scale fuel nat, some of the setup stuff that I really liked and picked up from there. Some upgrades that I've been preferring on the vehicles, and then a little bit of talked about some of my scheduling that's coming up. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting back in the groove of things. Got to finish this 10-scale kit today. Once I go shower up and get some lunch. I'm absolutely starving. It was like a 5:45 wake up this morning, and I wanted to get the heck out of the campsite. I was 3 total nights camping. It was fun, but when it's time, it's time. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks. We got Lance Parker tuning in. What's up, bud? It was nice seeing you at the INS. Charles Hicks, see you, bud. And yeah, thanks again, guys. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy your Sunday. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys on the next one.